Hey folks, it's Steve Wilmes and Matt Kita. Hey Matt,
Hey Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Except we have some new requirements for school district employees,
Yes, we do.
and we're going to talk a little bit about it today. It's SB 906, and this is referred to as homicidal threats. Can you guess what that is?
Sounds like situations where someone may actually lose their life because of a threat of some sort. I'm guessing a human being.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very, very important actually. And I'm glad it came out in many ways because so many times it's just overlooked. And we see a lot. I think we just saw that this latest shooter. What was the latest shooter? There's so many. But
Yeah, I do lose it. Apparently we just came out of a weekend where it was the most shootings or whatever ever. Are you thinking of Mississippi? The
yeah,
Mississippi shooting?
yeah.
Yeah.
You
The
know, and again, like, yeah, I get that the case was pled down and all this kind of stuff. That's fine.
yeah.
But so many times we don't really follow up on this. So this SB 906 puts in new homicidal threat reporting requirements, and it's really reporting death threat type issues or
Yes.
tendencies towards death threats that you would see in California in a school setting, in middle school and high school, not so much the younger grades. And I don't know. I'm looking at this, and again, I'm just doing a little breaking news today, man. I'm not going to get into the whole training. We are developing a training for this. It should be
Right.
out in a couple days. It's going to be pretty impactful. It'll be pretty quick, which is good. But
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot here. I think really when we look at SB 906, the thing that bothers me the most is it puts provisions in all these ed codes, and while we put provisions in there, there's no real bite to the law. You know, like
Okay.
at least with mandated reporter, if you fail to make a mandated report, then you face $1,000 fine or 6 months in prison, right?
Right.
Jail, mostly
Yes.
jail. Um, so there's some bite to it. There's no real bite to this. And then it gets kind of confusing because they try to make it easy. You remember where mandated reporting, who can we not report to? School resource officer?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And,
Yeah.
and we also, if like you and I both see the same threat, we still independently need to make our reports, right? So there's a
Yes.
lot of this confusion. I think the spirit of the law is really good, and I think the letter of the law completely blows away without any real enforcement. And
Right.
there's a couple things I think that you need to be mindful of. You have to report thoughts, right? You have to report these types of actions, homicidal threats, and that can be implied or direct or indirect. It can be from something that is stated by somebody else, which gets real loose. A kid
Yeah.
comes in and says XYZ. Well, who knows? It can be something very superficial. And one of the areas in there that really concerned me is if someone shows an interest in historic figures that have
Mm.
committed atrocious acts. Well, what if you are someone that is really into history and you like war history and
Right.
you study Genghis Khan and you study Hitler and you study Stalin and you study all these people because ultimately you want to uh, take a look at how to what triggers these things and how do you defeat them, and you want to go to work for the military and be a war analyst or something. These are things you might even study
Yeah.
Putin right now.
Like your old buddy who loved tanks, who
Yeah,
was drawing pictures of tanks. That's a good
all the
example,
time,
right?
all the
Yeah.
time, all the time. Went in, became a tank commander, and that was his thing that he did. So
Right.
yeah, images like that of tanks would now be a homicidal thought or threat, and you'd have to report that. Now, you know, you're not doing the investigation, so that's a whole nother thing. But you put this person on blast, and now they have to defend that. And as a student,
Yeah.
that's hard to do. So I think there's some really good things in this, and I think it has. There's a lot that's just really all over the place,
Right.
and I'm sorry for bringing up Hitler and all that kind of crap, but the point of that is that there are some legitimate research projects, and maybe someone has an interest in that, but that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that they're going to pursue that in a negative way,
Right.
right? And so
Right.
you could look at, maybe they're studying crime, and now you're looking at all the serial killers,
Yeah.
so these are things that the gamut of research or report writing that gets going in schools, especially in the high school years, can be quite diverse.
Yeah.
And now you immediately take that and you put that into a context which becomes a threat to the rest of
Yeah.
school. The other thing that I really don't like about this SB 906 is that it has some real fuzzy reporting requirements.
Okay.
And let me bring this up real quick because
Yeah.
I mean, I think we definitely are going to do the training on this, and you need to go through the training. That's part of it.
Mhm.
But okay, I'm just going to show you this piece right here, folks. You should be able to see that on the screen now. It says, for purposes of this article, unless the context requires otherwise, the following definition applies. So we have to make a report to law enforcement, Matt, and the
Okay.
report to law enforcement states law enforcement means any of the following. Now, see if you can figure out where this goes awry, okay?
Okay.
A peace officer employed or contracted by a school, school district, or local education agency for school safety purposes.
Okay.
Another Part 2 definition, a police or security department of a local education agency.
We're starting to go veer off already.
Uh-huh. A local law enforcement agency or agencies with geographic jurisdiction over a local education agency. So,
Okay.
so I get really kind of wild about this number 2.
Right. Yeah,
Actually,
that was the one that
actually,
really
number
burned
1
me.
and number 2. 3 is a little better. Local law enforcement with
Right. Yeah.
geographical,
3 I was fine with. Two
but
stood out.
a police or security department of a local education agency. We know we have sworn law enforcement officers
Yeah.
and non-sworn at education agencies, as well as our security departments. We've seen those security departments. So no real meat there. And the other one is a peace officer employed or contracted by a school, school district, or local educational agency for school safety purposes. So, okay. So you employ an
Mhm.
off-duty officer for a here and there, and you report this to them. What do they do with it?
Right.
What's your security department do with it? And that really gets into the whole investigation piece,
Yes.
the threat assessment. So this is just threat reporting. This isn't assessment,
Right.
but this is really kind of loose, and it really puts to mind a lot of potholes and possibilities
Right.
for staff members to go rogue and just like lose it. And I just this is really off the charts. It's just bad.
Yeah, it is. And you're talking about, well, who is receiving these reports, and if they launch these investigations, do they have the capacity and training and ability to conduct those investigations? And how far do those powers go? And
Right.
what do you once you have that information, now that you know, let's say you did whatever form you take it, you've determined yes, a homicidal threat occurred. What happens then?
Mm-hmm.
Are you, what if it was a 12-year-old kid? Yeah, a 12-year-old kid. I used to be a 12-year-old kid who got into fights. You were too, Steve.
Never.
Yeah, never. Okay, well, you were a saint. I wasn't, and
I never
you
got
did
into a fight. I got into
right.
mutual affrays. Let's get that straight.
There you go.
Don't
There
try
you
and
go.
pin me down.
So, I mean, how many times did something come out of your mouth during one of these? That you know what, I didn't actually mean that, but I mean, you'd say, I'm gonna kill you. We say stuff like that. We sometimes we don't even say that in a fight. We'll say it in an argument.
Yeah. I'm going to
And
destroy you.
yeah, I'm gonna, and does that 12-year-old kid really mean he's gonna kill that other
No,
kid?
I don't think so. And I think that's really where the training comes into play to understand the threats themselves and the gravity of offenses and to use your reasonable suspicion on those. I go back to this, though, with number two. It says a police department or security department of a local educational agency. Well, okay, it doesn't say your local educational agency or the district
Yeah, yeah,
that you work at or employed at are employed of the same local educational agency. So do we, the especially like down here at the beach, Manhattan, Hermosa, El Segundo, Redondo Beach are all so close. Torrance, right? Hey, Torrance has a
right.
security department. Why don't we just report our threats to that? Hey, I made it. I said the
Yep.
threat. You know,
You met the qualifications of the
yeah.
code.
It's just that part really, this got rushed through and it's really half baked.
Yeah,
But I think, we got to do training. You have to understand reasonable suspicion and we have to understand what is a direct or indirect threat, what creates these types of things, what can you look at. The other piece of this, which is really loose, is that they want you to collect evidence. They want
huh.
evidence. They want
They're empowering the educators
no,
who
they're
are
not.
report. No.
They are they are not empowering them for our proper search and seizure protocols.
Okay.
What they are saying is you need to provide documentation and evidence or the physical note or drawing or whatever.
Right.
Well,
Right.
that you
Okay.
could do if someone's turned in homework, but you can't, like, there's so many search and seizure violations of that. Like
Yes.
they specifically call out social media, phone images and all this. Hey, that's a real problem because there's a proper method for search and seizure. And
Yeah.
if you start conducting investigations and taking kids' phones and looking through them, you got
Yeah.
some real serious problems.
Yeah. There's going to be big issues there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So, how much good this does, this probably, if appropriately applied, will address, uh, I don't know, maybe one student per district, you know.
Mhm.
The bigger challenge though is I see a lot of pitfalls, a lot of potholes, a lot of really watch your step type issues in this. And I
Yeah.
think training's one piece, but the district really needs to put together a policy for this.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
This is the sort of thing there. This needs to be laid out in more detail than it seems the bill and law itself has been laid out.
yeah, yeah. So, great in spirit, terrible in the letter of the law. And
Right.
if you like this little breaking news analysis, then please follow along, subscribe to us. Don't forget to check out our Udemy courses, which we will be posting the course there. And we'll be touching upon some of the mandated reporter training as well. Might as well get a 2-for-1, right, Matt?
Right. Sure.
and
Sure. Why
then,
not?
if you just want the just basic threat assessment, homicidal threats, then that'll be on Dollar Training Club as well. And don't forget to check out our beautiful blog and website where we have all kinds of great tools and explanations of our services. You can reach out and talk to us there. So, with that, we'll see you on the next episode of the Risk Control Show.
See you guys.